Hey brothers, hope you guys are doing great. On my side, doing fine. Just kicking another video now. I think it's the third one I'm doing today. I don't know, I'm on a roll. Just the subjects keep coming up. And I think we have a good one for you right now. What we're trying to assess is who would make the more sense to fight Tyson Fury? Would it be the Predator Francis Ngannou or John Bones Jones? This is an interesting one, right? So let's try to assess that. Before we start the show, please don't hesitate to click on that subscribe button and on that like button. That's always appreciated, right? So we all know what's going on, and that a lot of talk has been going on social media related to a possible fight. Let's say anyway, not a I wouldn't say a possible fight, but that back and forth between John Jones and Tyson Fury. I mean, we know it all started with that comment from Joe Rogan that was saying that if those two guys, Fury and Jones, were locked in a room, only Jones will come out of that room, right? Now, if we're talking, I mean, we need to be a little bit more specific. I mean, when they're in that room, like, is there any specific rule? Are they in there locked in that room with and they're going to fight with the rules of boxing, the Queensberry rules, or they're going to fight with the MMA rules, right? Or it's going to be basically a street fight, everything goes, because we know that in a street fight there's no rules, man. Like you fight any way you want to fight, and even if the room is empty, there's no object or no nothing, I mean, you still have your teeth, you still have your finger that you can put in the eye, head, butt, you can kick in the ground. Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want to save your life, right? So in that regard, I'm not sure that a John Jones would come out easy out of that room. So that's a ridiculous speculation. So we need really now to assess that question that we want to ask ourselves right now, is who would make the more sense to fight Fury? Is it the Predator Francis Ngannou, or is it John Jones? So after that comment, I mean, you've been seeing like John Jones coming out and trolling Tyson Fury answering back that, hey, I'm not all in there for the cage fighting, and that makes sense. I mean, the guy never signed to go in an octagon to fight John Jones. I know that he said it in regards to Francis Ngannou at one point, but he never said it for John Jones. What he said for John Jones is that he would be the one coming out of that room. That's what he said. And based on what I just told you about the rules or no rules, street fight or no street fight, it's not cut and dry, right? You don't know who's going to come out of that room. And it's not sure that it's going to be John Jones that is going to come out of that room because he's MMA fighter. Forget that. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work like that, right? So now let's understand. Before I'm able to provide to tell you who would make the more sense, right? I need to understand for you and explain to you what I understand, what would make sense to me, right? When I look at a fight, what I like to see, right, is two fighters that do have a path to victory, right? That do have a realistic way, right, to achieve victory, right? So we have two possibilities here. We have Tyson Fury versus John Jones, and we have Tyson Fury between the Predator Francis Ngannou. Let's take the first one, Tyson Fury versus John Jones, right? We know that that these two guys are some of the masters at what they do, right? But more than that, we know that every fighter in his area is the kryptonite of the other one. Let me explain why. John Jones, basically, his stand-up sucks. Let's be honest, his stand-up sucks, right? He's the total package in the MMA that makes him a good guy, a good fighter, right? But his stand-up, his boxing sucks, right? But what is exceptional on his side, I guess, and what is his favorite weapon and the weapon with which he has the most expertise, is his wrestling, right? He is very good at wrestling. Tyson Fury cannot wrestle for shit. I mean, he's got the basics like a Thomas Pinal told us, but he cannot wrestle for shit in comparison to the skill that John Jones possess in wrestling. So if the two meet in an octagon, right, I don't see how, realistically, from a strategic point of view, a Tyson Fury can win that fight, right? I mean, that would be maybe a 99 or 98% chance of victory for John Jones, definitely. Now, if we switch and go with Tyson Fury and John Jones on the in the ring, we can see that the opposite is happening. I mean, we're not wrestling there. We're not giving elbows, right? We're not giving spinning back fist. We're not giving anything of that, right? And we are not taking people down. We are not even faking to take people down. So we understand, quite frankly, here that, first of all, Jones cannot wrestle for shit. He cannot wrestle. He cannot wrestle for shit. Sorry about that. But he cannot box to save his life. He doesn't know how to box, right? Compared to an expert, right, like Tyson Fury, who's been boxing all his life, who has made his name boxing and his fame and money boxing, right? So we can see that both ways, whether we are in the octagon, we are sure that Jones is going to win, and whether we are in the ring, we are sure that Fury is going to win. Again, I'm telling you, right? It depends what you understand, your definition of a fight that makes sense. I mean, if the fight that makes sense for you is to see a Fury being dismantled in an octagon, right? Then you're going to like it, and you're going to think that, okay, that's the fight that I want to see. And the opposite also, if you like to see John Jones get beat up with him have no chance to win and just assist to his execution, then you're going to say, yeah, I prefer to have Fury and John Jones, right? But that's not my case. So that fight is not going to interest me because I know already who's going to win for sure. For sure. I know who's going to win if they face off in the octagon, and I know who's going to win if they face off in the ring. Now, let's bring Francis Ngannou in the equation. How did Francis Ngannou made his fame and money into the octagon? It's not really by submitting people. He can do it. Don't get me wrong. He can do it. But that's not his primary weapon. His primary weapon is to square off, stand up, and trade and box, right? And this guy has an interesting boxing expertise, right? And when you think about it, when he came from Africa and went to the gym of Fernando Lopez, the first thing that he wanted to do was boxing, not MMA, right? MMA came after, and MMA is what he's been adding to the skills, to his skill set. He's been adding to his skill set the kickboxing. He's been adding to his skill set the wrestling. He's been adding to his skill set the grappling. But the first thing that he had in his toolbox was boxing, right? Maybe not at the level of a Tyson Fury, but he's pretty good at boxing. And the other thing that he has is that he's got power. And that's what is missing to Jones, right? To make that fight, Jones versus Fury, interesting. The power. I mean, Tyson Fury doesn't even have to worry about the power of a John Jones, right? He can just walk him down, just punish his body, punish his face, fake him, make him carry his weight. I mean, he can do whatever he wants to do with John Jones in the ring. Let me tell you this. He can do that, right? Which he won't be able to do with a guy like Francis Ngannou. Why? Because he has to respect the power. I mean, he's been dropped by Deontay Wilder, and that was not a lucky shot. He's been dropped by Deontay Wilder, right? And who says that he won't be dropped? He won't be tagged by Francis Ngannou. And if he's tagged by Francis Ngannou, there's a lot of chance that he's get his knee down. At least his knee down, right? Now, let's switch on the octagon now. I mean, if you go to the octagon, the primary weapon of Francis Ngannou is still striking. What he's going to do as a strategic point of view is that knowing that if he start exchanging on his feet with Tyson Fury, he might have some problems because I mean, a boxer is a boxer. So if they box, whether they box in the ring or in the octagon, I mean, that's the same thing, right? If you ask me. So maybe on the strategic point of view, they're going to ask him to use his wrestling, but his wrestling is he has a little bit less expertise than a guy like John Jones, and maybe the basics of grappling and wrestling of a guy like Tyson Fury is going to be enough, maybe to stuff some of the takedown and stay on the feet long enough to be able to maybe tire Francis Ngannou, or at least tag him and hurt him, right? So that's what makes the fight between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou really interesting, because at the end of the day, whether it is happening in the octagon or whether it is happening in the ring, both fighters have a realistic path to victory. Both fighters have a realistic path to victory, and thanks also to the power of Francis Ngannou, which a guy like John Jones does not possess. So if you ask me, yes, the fight that would make the most sense for Fury would be the fight with Francis Ngannou. And if they promote it the way it's supposed to be promoted, I mean, this is going to make numbers like they've never seen, if you ask me. It's going to make numbers that they've never seen. And just to finish like this, we know that a lot of this noise is to disrupt and to distract people from the real topics and the real issues that are fighters' pay, that are healthcare for fighters, fighters advocacy and all that. We know that is to disrupt all that, and also the fact that the PFL is really putting themselves in a position where they can not attack the UFC but propose another option to the MMA fighters that are out there, another option, other option than the UFC, a premium other option than the UFC. So we know it's to distract all of that. We know that Tyson Fury is not going to go in there, and it wouldn't make sense for him to go in there against John Jones. We know that John Jones, a guy like Dana White, is never going to accept to have him go fight Tyson Fury in a ring, right? And to be honest, he's not going to accept that Tyson Fury fight John Jones in a ring, period, whether it is in the UFC or outside of the UFC, right? Period, right? It's never going to happen. So this is done. It's just noise to distract people, and to keep our mind busy to other things than worrying about the PFL, doing all the right moves, right, and worrying about where Francis Ngannou is going, and try to disrupt again Francis Ngannou possibility to fight against a Tyson Fury, like they try to make it hard for him to find another home in another promotion. You know what happened, and all the pressure that they put and all the lies that were out there. So it is what it is. That was my take on this. I think that what makes the more sense is definitely a Tyson Fury, the Predator and Ngannou fight, and I'm just going to leave with this to think about that, right? When I'm talking that Ngannou boxing wise is pretty tricky. So this is a quote from Sam Jones, Joe Joyce's manager, right? So it's a quote, so nobody has invented this. Let me tell you something about Francis Ngannou. He can box at a high level. Ngannou and Joe Joyce went 8 rounds. It was the most entertaining spar I've ever seen Joe in. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, right? So this is a comment from Sam Jones, Joe Joyce's manager. Now, what is impressing me in there is the 8 rounds, right? Because it doesn't strike me that Francis Ngannou could be a guy that could go the distance around 8 rounds like that, right? So I'm surprised about that, and it reinforced my opinion, and it reinforced my decision to pick him, and to make him the most interesting fight against Fury, right? Especially if he can have the cardio to last like around 8 rounds, because at the end of the day, I think that this is about the number of rounds that are going to be there, right? 8-10 rounds max, right? it's good. It's going to make out a pretty good fight. That's what I think. Forget about John Jones having a chance in there. Forget it. So that's my take. Let me know what you guys think about. Who would make the more sense to fight a guy like Fury? Okay. See you guys. Peace. And talk to you guys later.